Hello, Kanye. Bianca, so beautiful, Bianca.
Father Leo. I know what you're thinking, he looks like the most innocent guy ever, like he could work in the IT department, but he was actually involved in a gambling scheme in Australia. He also faced multiple convictions, including possession of and a loaded firearm.
Most people thought Kanye West's wedding to Bianca Censori was just another bizarre headline in a long list of his unpredictable moves. But what if this wasn't just a stunt, or even love? What if Kanye unknowingly stepped into something far more dangerous? Because Bianca's last name carries a history, one that doesn't just whisper scandal, it screams it. Behind her barely there outfits and Kanye's chaotic public appearances is a family legacy that ties back to one of Australia's most feared underworld figures.
Video up, because y'all might think, oh man, Ye really going through right now, somebody need to go get him. Oh, yo, go take his Twitter and stuff like that. But I'm just telling you calmly that I am in a good space. I'm really in a positive space. It's cathartic. I got my ideas out. That's all that happened. And that was very freeing for me, and it's worth everything. It was worth everything to do that. So let's start there.
Law has demanded he and Bianca Censori fly to Australia to address concerns over her X-rated outfits. Bianca's mother has previously addressed fears of Kanye's intimidating behavior, with one source alleging he parades Bianca around like a trashy naked trophy pony. A source says Bianca's father, Leo, will not be intimidated by Kanye's power or control after Bianca's mother's failed attempts to save her daughter.
Bianca's father, Leo Censori, isn't some ordinary overprotective dad. He's a man who's done prison time for serious charges, including firearm possession and drug trafficking. And it doesn't stop there. Her uncle Eris Censori was once called the Al Capone of Melbourne, a man known for running with dangerous crowds during Australia's gangland wars. So when Kanye started parading Bianca around the world half-naked, calling her his muse while dressing her in sheer bodysuits and see-through plastic, her family didn't just disapprove, they reportedly snapped.
They could have put us right here. Don't say anything.
Just a reminder that this is how Kanye dressed Kim for the 2021 Met Gala, which I believe was right before their divorce. Insanely stark contrast to his now naked wife, who clearly did not want to take off that jacket. It would be so different if it was that women empowerment moment that every man is claiming that it was, but she clearly did not want to take off that jacket. And just remembering that this is how he treated a woman he actually respected.
Sources close to the Censori family claim Leo was furious, calling out Kanye for treating his daughter like a naked trophy pony. And that's not just tabloid drama. That's a public warning, one that carried the weight of real-world consequences. Because when someone with Leo's background issues a threat, it doesn't come lightly. This wasn't just a fashion statement gone too far. This was personal. And Kanye? He might have just walked straight into a war he doesn't understand.
That's enough. It's good. It's good. How much y'all need? Like 3,000?
Almost borderline like being sued, because it's the only time where I can be myself, because I sit in those depositions and it'd be hilarious. I remember I was in a deposition with Suge Knight and I had my hands on my face like this, right? And the lawyer was sitting, Suge sitting right there, and Suge's lawyer sitting next to me. He said, can you take your hands off your face? No, I said, take your hands off your face. I looked at him and said, he said, take your hands off your face. I said, look, sir, you're gonna have to ask me nicely to take my hands off my face. Please talk to me with some type of respect. And he says, okay, Mr. West, can you please take your hands off your face? And I said, no.
Before the headlines, before the sheer bodysuits and the international whispers, Bianca Censori was just another architect living a relatively private life in Melbourne, Australia. Educated, low profile, and focused on her design career, she was known for her intelligence, her creativity, and by all accounts, her discretion. She wasn't trying to be famous. She wasn't chasing cameras or drama. In fact, Bianca was building a quiet, successful future for herself, far removed from the Hollywood madness. But what the public didn't know is that she also came from a family with shadows trailing just behind the spotlight. Her father, Leo Censori, kept a low digital footprint, but held a heavy reputation in certain circles. Arrested years ago on charges related to heroin trafficking and illegal firearms, Leo wasn't just feared, he was respected by people who don't respect easily. And Bianca's uncle, even darker, Eris Censori, known in Australia's criminal underworld as a key figure during the brutal gangland wars, had earned comparisons to Melbourne's Al Capone. So while Bianca may have lived quietly, the last name she carried had weight, it had history, and it had enemies. For years, Bianca kept that world at a distance. But everything changed the day she crossed paths with Kanye West. Their relationship was sudden, secretive, and surrounded by confusion. No public courtship, no press tours, just the wedding ceremony in early 2023 that left people stunned and asking, who is Bianca Censori? And what exactly did Kanye get himself into? What followed wasn't your typical celebrity couple rollout. It was something stranger. Bianca's transformation began almost immediately. Gone were her tailored jackets and low-key style. Instead, she started appearing in increasingly provocative outfits, often nearly unclothed, with Kanye proudly by her side, silent but clearly in control. It was like watching a quiet girl from Melbourne vanish, replaced by a surreal figure straight out of one of Kanye's fashion hallucinations. And for her family, especially her father, this wasn't just a shock, it was a nightmare unfolding in public. Because to them, this wasn't art, this wasn't freedom of expression. This was exploitation. And it didn't take long for Leo to allegedly begin making calls behind the scenes, trying to pull his daughter back before things got worse. But by then, the machine was already in motion. Bianca had become part of Kanye's world, and that world doesn't slow down for anyone, not even for a father with a criminal past and a warning that could shake the foundations of their entire relationship. At first, people thought it was just a phase, another one of Kanye's artistic stunts, but it didn't stop. Bianca kept showing up in public, looking like a living mannequin, wrapped in plastic, mesh, or sometimes nothing at all. No explanation, no interviews, just a haunting silence and a camera-ready stare. Paparazzi photos captured her walking barefoot through hotel lobbies, wrapped in translucent nylon, or covered in nothing but sheer stockings and body tape. To the public, it was shocking. To the fashion world, it was confusing. But to Bianca's family, it was terrifying. This wasn't the woman they knew. This wasn't the thoughtful, reserved architect who once spoke passionately about sustainable design and building a career outside the spotlight. This was someone else, someone who looked trapped in a surreal performance she couldn't speak out of. And it wasn't just about what she wore. It was about who was making those decisions. Insiders began whispering that Kanye had full control, not just over her wardrobe, but her movements, her diet, even her voice. Bianca didn't post on social media, she didn't give interviews, she didn't explain herself. And in today's world, silence can be louder than any scandal. Meanwhile, the rumors swirling behind the scenes were even darker. Some close to the couple claimed Bianca wasn't allowed to speak unless spoken to, that she was being tracked, monitored, and isolated. That Kanye had reportedly installed an app on her phone to control when she left the house and where she went. Whether or not these claims were exaggerated didn't matter, because perception had already shifted. And for her family, that shift was a wake-up call. Her father, Leo, already frustrated by her rapid descent into global spectacle, saw enough. According to sources close to the Censori circle, Leo was done playing it quiet. He allegedly began reaching out to Kanye's team, demanding a sit-down. Not an email, not a phone call, a face-to-face confrontation. And here's where things take a turn, because this wasn't a conversation between two concerned in-laws. This was a man with a criminal history and a reputation for handling things personally, demanding accountability from one of the most unpredictable celebrities in the world. And behind the scenes, the question became, would Kanye respond? Or was he too deep in his own world to recognize the warning signs coming straight for him? Leo Censori isn't the type of man who makes public statements. He doesn't do interviews. He doesn't chase clout. But when it came to Kanye West and what was happening to his daughter, the silence broke. And what followed was the kind of behind-the-scenes pressure most celebrities would never see coming. Because while tabloids painted Leo as just another concerned father, the truth runs much deeper. In Australia, Leo is a name that carries weight in certain circles. Years ago, he was arrested and sentenced for serious offenses tied to illegal firearms and heroin trafficking, charges that don't just appear out of thin air. But what's even more unsettling is the family legacy. Leo's brother, Eris Censori, was one of the most feared men during Melbourne's gangland wars, a brutal era defined by assassinations, extortion, and deep mafia connections. Eris was known as a fixer, a player in the underworld who didn't ask for respect. He took it. And Leo, by blood and by business, was no outsider to that world. So when Leo demanded a private meeting with Kanye, it wasn't a fatherly heart-to-heart. It was a warning. Sources claim Leo reached out to Kanye's people multiple times, insisting he travel to Australia to discuss the treatment of his daughter in person. But Kanye never showed. Maybe he thought it wasn't real. Maybe he believed no one could touch him. Or maybe he underestimated just how serious Leo really was. Because those close to the Censori family say the tone changed fast. What started as concerned outreach reportedly escalated into veiled threats, coded language from a man who knows exactly how far he's willing to go. And while there's no official record of violence, people who know Leo say one thing clearly: he doesn't make empty promises. Behind closed doors, some insiders say Kanye's team started to get nervous. Not because of a lawsuit, but because the kind of men tied to Leo don't use lawyers, they use pressure. And in a world where Kanye's every move is filmed, tweeted, or analyzed, this wasn't a problem he could solve with a soundbite. This was something darker, something off the grid. And that silence, that eerie non-response from Kanye, it might not be arrogance, it might be fear. Because when a man with a reputation like Leo Censori's tells you you've gone too far, you listen, or you face consequences that don't come with a court date. And for the first time in a long time, Kanye may have found himself up against someone who doesn't care about fame, money, or influence, just family and revenge. Kanye West has never been known for backing down. From music beefs to business feuds, he's always played offense. But after Bianca's father allegedly began demanding a face-to-face meeting, and the threats started to get personal, something shifted. Kanye didn't respond publicly. He didn't send a representative. He didn't even try to defuse the situation with one of his infamous online rants. Instead, he went quiet, and that silence didn't feel strategic. It felt scared. Behind the scenes, rumors began to swirl that Kanye wasn't just avoiding Leo. He was actively trying to tighten his grip on Bianca. According to multiple sources, Kanye had allegedly installed tracking software on her phone, an app that pinged her location, restricted her communication, and monitored her movements. It's the kind of control that doesn't look like love. It looks like surveillance. And for someone like Bianca, who once lived a life of quiet independence, the shift was jarring. Insiders claimed she had started disappearing from her own life. No texts, no calls, no updates. Just long stretches of silence broken only by photos of her walking beside Kanye, dressed in barely their outfits with a blank expression that told its own story. The media called it fashion. The internet called it weird. But to those who knew her, it looked like control. And that's when the rumors about Kanye's private paranoia began. Friends reportedly said he believed people were trying to steal Bianca away, that her family, the media, even other celebrities were plotting against him. One source claimed Kanye referred to Bianca as his creation, insisting no one else could touch her. Another said he'd become obsessed with isolating her from anyone who might pull her back to reality, including her own family. And all of this started right around the time Leo allegedly made his first direct demand: return my daughter, or there will be consequences. The tension was rising. Kanye's world was closing in. And whether he was reacting out of love, fear, or obsession, the result was the same. Bianca was caught in the middle, trapped between a father with underworld ties and a husband with a history of unraveling in public. And with each new paparazzi photo, each silent outing, one question got louder. Was Bianca still choosing this life, or had she lost the ability to choose at all? The internet doesn't miss a thing. And as Kanye and Bianca's strange appearances grew more frequent and more unsettling, the online conversation exploded. At first, people made jokes. Memes mocked Bianca's invisible outfits and Kanye's blank stares. But the deeper this story went, the darker the commentary became. Reddit threads started dissecting her body language. TikToks broke down every glance, every movement, every silent walk beside Kanye as if decoding a hostage tape. She blinks too slow. She never smiles. She looks gone. Those were just some of the comments flooding the timeline. And for every post that laughed at her see-through outfits, there were dozens more asking the same haunting question. Is she okay? Some theorists believe she's being manipulated, possibly even held under some kind of psychological control. Others argue she's a willing participant, an adult woman who knew exactly what she was signing up for. But then the conversation takes an even darker turn. What if she wasn't just trapped by Kanye, but by the threat of what her own family might do if she ever tried to leave? Think about it. On one side, she's got a husband with global influence, a man known for controlling every detail of his environment. On the other, a father with a criminal past and a network of silent pressure. What happens to someone when both sides are fighting for control of her life and neither is offering a way out? Some online commenters even speculate that Bianca's transformation isn't just about fashion or art. It's a kind of erasure, that Kanye, in an attempt to reinvent himself, has been slowly erasing Bianca's past, her roots, even her identity. Her voice is gone, her style gone, her presence online deleted. All that's left is the version of her he walks beside, silent, blank, dressed in barely their fabric while the world watches and wonders if she's still the woman she once was. And meanwhile, her family, silent, except for the rumors, the pressure, the alleged threats behind closed doors. It's a modern-day psychological thriller playing out in real time, and nobody knows what's real anymore. Is Bianca playing a role? Is she a victim? Or is she caught in a silent war between two men who both think they own her story? The deeper you dig into the Bianca Censori story, the more disturbing it becomes. Not just because of what's happening to her, but because of what it says about control in plain sight. Kanye West isn't some shadowy figure operating in the dark. He's out in public, walking hand in hand with a woman who no longer speaks, no longer posts, no longer dresses herself. Yet no one intervenes. Why? Because fame gives people cover. And power, when disguised as artistic expression, becomes nearly impossible to challenge. But Bianca's situation doesn't just raise questions about Kanye's influence. It forces us to look at the systems that let this happen. How does a woman go from educated architect to mute half-dressed accessory in less than a year? And nobody steps in? Where are the interviews, the outreach, the real conversations? The silence around Bianca isn't just Kanye's doing, it's ours too. Meanwhile, the other side of the story, the side tied to Bianca's bloodline, isn't making noise, but it's making moves. Eris Censori's name doesn't trend on Twitter. You won't find TMZ camping outside his house, but the pressure he's allegedly applied doesn't need cameras. It lives in threats, in silence, in the kind of phone calls that don't leave a paper trail. According to sources close to the situation, Leo has grown increasingly frustrated with Kanye's refusal to acknowledge him, refusing meetings, ignoring messages, brushing off the concern like it's all just noise. And if there's one thing a man like Leo doesn't tolerate, it's being ignored. The fear isn't that this will become a public scandal. The fear is that it won't. That the damage will happen quietly, behind the scenes. That the world will keep laughing at Bianca's outfits and Kanye's antics, while something far more sinister plays out just off camera. Because here's what no one wants to admit. If Bianca is trapped, this isn't just a fashion controversy. This is a hostage situation disguised as a marriage. And if her father really is willing to cross lines to get her back, then the stage is set for something dark, something irreversible. And all the while, the world watches in silence, wondering if this is art or a cry for help buried beneath sunglasses and silence. This isn't just a celebrity story, it's a warning. Because what started as a bizarre fashion spectacle has unraveled into something much darker, a silent war between obsession, control, and legacy. Bianca isn't just a wife. She's a symbol of how easy it is to lose yourself when the world's watching, but no one's really looking. And at the center of it all, you have two men who couldn't be more different, yet eerily similar. One is a billionaire with influence that bends reality. The other is a father with a past soaked in power, silence, and threat. And Bianca? She's somewhere in the middle, stripped of her voice, erased from her own story, while the world debates whether she's complicit or completely caged. Maybe this is performance art, maybe it's personal collapse, or maybe it's something we've never seen before, a modern tragedy unfolding in real time, where silence screams louder than words, and no one's sure how or if it ends. So here's the question we're left with. When fame, control, and fear collide, who really owns the story? And more importantly, what happens to the person at the center of it? When both sides decide they're done waiting,